Do you want to objectively assess every student? Site Rating Factory's auto assessment and auto graded assignments can help you save hours while tracking student growth. Visit siteratingfactory.com. Hello, my name is Ryan Ashley, and this is State of Band, a podcast where I'm traveling across the United States, sitting down with band directors in every state to learn how band programs really function. From rehearsal rooms to halftime shows, we'll explore the challenges, successes, and stories that shape music education across the country. One state, one band, one story at a time. Hello again and welcome to State of Band. My name is Ryan Ashley, and this one is a little different because this time we're doing my state. So this episode is all about the state of Arkansas, and I'm going to pass it off to Miss Allen, who is going to host this one.
Hello, everybody. This is the Band Room Therapy Podcast, and this is State of Band. And I'm so excited to be interviewing Miss Kara Reynolds and Mr. Ashley, who they're both experts on Arkansas bands. And I know very little, so I'm hoping I can learn some things today because I'm from West Virginia, so I'm excited to learn. So let's just jump right in. So what kind of organizations do you guys have in the state? You know, things that you have to pay dues to, or, you know, that you have to be a part of in order for your kids to participate in, kind of things. What are you guys involved in?
So I guess I'll go right off. Is that okay with you, Mr. Ashley? All right. So basically our entire state for any activity that competes is going to be governed by our AAA, Arkansas Activities Association. But then it has branches that kind of go underneath that organization. So like our superintendents are a part of that, and they take care of governing athletics, choir, band, orchestra, everything that competes. Lots more than just us. But ASBOA, the Arkansas School Band and Orchestra Association, is actually what governs our bands and orchestras in the state. And that encompasses marching band and the orchestra, jazz bands, and then obviously concert bands too. So that's actually probably the one that most people would know from Arkansas, because it handles the big state events for band and orchestra. But we also have the Arkansas Small Band Association, which is small schools that have gotten together and put together an organization that also competes. And you can pay dues to that organization and compete with them. And they do an amazing job of linking those small schools in our state, because we have a lot of them, together. Trey Reilly started that organization with lots of help from other band directors across the state, and they really are amazing. And I like working with them in the spring. I get to help with their tryouts, so that's a really great organization. And I mean that's probably those two. And then Arkansas Marching Arts Association is our indoor organization for the state, and again, you could pay dues to them to compete in their circuit, and it has grown. There is some amazing band directors in that organization too. And they will obviously compete January through the very beginning of April into March. So that organization is also growing. I want to say it's 5 years in, but I think that may be wrong. I think it's a little farther than that. Mr. Ashley may be able to tell me officially on that if he remembers. But
I'm no expert on that. I'm not in that group. But then we also have Arkansas Jazz Educators, which covers a lot of our all-state jazz. They kind of like operate under ASBOA, I feel like, where they'll like organize the jazz side of all of our band events.
They do a lot with the jazz stuff, that is for sure, and creating great lit for the students to audition on and getting those clinicians and things in.
Oh, that's so cool. I love the small schools thing. That's really neat. Like we don't have that in West Virginia at all. We just have one big group. And we're all together, but I think we could benefit from a small schools thing for sure, because like we're all rural, but there's bigger schools than others, you know. So, but it's a very rural state where we are.
They host their own like honor band type situation. That's really good for those small schools who don't get to, have the resources to make the bigger all region or all state organization. Yep. So those kids still get that experience.
Gotcha.
It's a really great. They do just a really great job, and it benefits those kids. They get it. They come into those auditions, and then they bring in great clinicians for their honor band. It usually is in April. When they've been in February, but they've moved it around April this last year.
Cool. So in West Virginia, we have I think 11 10 or 11 regions. So how do you guys break up into smaller regions in your state? Or is it districts, regions? How is it organized?
So we have regions. We have 9 regions. Basically, it goes all the way around Arkansas, and then right in the middle, there's another region. So some of the regions are shaped kind of oddly, whereas like the middle region, Little Rock, is very small because there's a lot of big schools right there. But then you have me and Kara are actually in the same region, and we're about 2 hours from one end to the other end. It's just like a long, skinny region. So it's based on school population. They've organized it that way. So that way, there's about the same amount of kids participating in each region. And it goes all the way around Arkansas like that. So we have 9.
Right. It actually, we redrew the lines a few years ago, and it's been a little while. It's been too long, but that is something that is being looked at is retracing those lines, because our Northwest Arkansas has exploded, but we try to take into account distance and travel. But again, you're looking at rural areas that it's going to be a drive. Sorry, my light will go on and off. It doesn't know I'm here, and it'll those lines probably have to be redrawn again. But that was it's only been done twice. It's only been done the original and then the new one, and they're looking at doing it again.
Yeah. Gotcha. I realized when doing this podcast, geography kind of matters because you don't really understand the shape, the cities that are big. But Northwest Arkansas, what she's talking about is where Walmart is based out of. And there's like 4 cities, and they have blown up. They're basically one giant city at this point. And their region is actually split between the 4, like 2 cities are in one region, the other 2 are in another region. Even though they're basically one city, they go to 2 different regions. Gotcha. And so
ours are very geographical because of the mountains, really. Like if there's a mountain, it's like, well, one region's on side of the other, and then because we're not going to go over the mountain here, like to get to each other. And being in the Panhandle, like it's just we're all in one spot, but it's interesting how it's all organized, but yeah, geography just plays a huge role for sure.
No.
So how often do you guys meet in like districts, or how many events do you have per district? So like my district, we meet once a year at our regional band, like while the kids are practicing with the guest conductor, we'll have like a meeting, and then we have like jazz festival with our region. And it's not even our region, it's just the Eastern region. So we just have 3 regions for when it comes to jazz. But how often do you guys have events together? And like, how close are you guys? Like, are you pretty tight with the other directors in your region? And how does that work?
I mean, I will say that that is something in Arkansas. And I feel like it's band family is band family, right? All over. But that is definitely, Arkansas has that niche. We have incredibly close band directors. I think for our regions, they really only meet twice officially during the year. So we meet in April to discuss the next year, make sure we have all our dates and our clinicians and our things kind of set up. And then we meet at ABA in the end of July, beginning of August, to make sure that we are set for sure for the rest of the year. And then at each event, I mean, obviously we hang out together, we sit around and chat about what's happening with each program and new ideas and, hey, this worked for me and that kind of thing. But there's no official meetings at those events.
ABA?
Arkansas Bandmasters Association. That is our summer convention that everybody comes to from the whole state.
Got it. Yeah, we don't have one of those. Like, but that'd be cool if we did.
Yeah. So that is another part of our state that is like we have that main organization, and they literally create the convention for us each year to have professional development for band directors and for orchestra and for all of us to get ideas and know what's going on.
Ryan, would you agree to the tight closeness of the directors?
I would say Arkansas, we're all pretty close. No one's really that mean. Anyone who you think is mean just looks mean, and they all get along pretty well. There's the only juicy fights happen at ABA, and other than that, everyone's just friendly and happy, and we're all in it for the kids.
It's healthy competition.
It is.
Yes.
And that like. When you're on that board and you're trying to do the best for the entire state, and then you also have to think, well, that guy is thinking about what is best for his kids, or that lady is trying to make sure that her, student has the best opportunity to succeed. And so that's that way no matter what. But I think it's the collaboration between us, and there's a lot of mentorship and, just talking through things a lot in our state that I really appreciate. And I've been here pretty much my whole entire life. My dad was a band director, as a retired band director. And so this is my family. I grew up here. I grew up as a band kid. I mean, from day one. And so that part of it, it's something special and I really love it.
Sounds like a great childhood. That sounds like a great childhood.
Yeah. Most of the time it was great.
So what grade level requirements, when can you start doing events? Is it how young or old do you have to be to do solo and ensemble or, things like that with the level events, is that what this question is, Ryan? I'm trying to figure out, are there grade level requirements?
In our state, the state level events are only 10 through 12, right, Kara?
12.
Okay.
Yes, 10
and
through
then
12.
I think there is no bottom on how young you can be to be a part of anything. Is that correct?
So I actually asked this question because I was not 100% sure on this because we start in 7th grade, but I do know schools that start in 6th. But I actually asked because on our forms, I think it only goes to 5th grade. And that is a true thing that we don't have anybody below 5th grade that is competing in solo and ensemble or in all region or anything like that.
Yeah, that's about our level too for solo and ensemble. Yeah.
Yeah. So 5th or 9th grade can compete on region events, stuff with only your little area. But once you get to 10th grade, you can go on to compete at the state level.
Although we do cross over in marching band and concert band that some schools have 9 through 12 or 8 through 12 even, depending on their superintendent, their principals and the building. There's some rules and stipulations that go with that for smaller schools specifically. And then some of the larger schools have 9 through 12 marching band. So they can compete at state marching and at state concert. But that's the only time. They cannot compete at state concert or jazz tryouts or orchestra tryouts.
Individual.
Individual activities. Yeah, there you go. Individual events.
So are your middle schools allowed to compete at like we have concert band festival and we don't compete. We just go and get a rating.
Yes.
For it.
Yes.
So is it expected for middle schools and high schools to attend those? Do they have to pay a fee for it? And would they have to pay a fee if they didn't attend?
Yes, you do. You do a fee for attending concert assessment. So yes, they pay a fee, but there's no regulation of that you have to go. That depends on your district. So our 7th graders do not attend a concert assessment. That's beginning band for us, so they would not go. They don't go to concert assessment. But our 8th graders go, and our 9th graders go, and then our high school, we have bands that go to concert assessment. And then the 10 through 12 then can move on to state. And again, that's another fee. You do pay fees for each event.
So you would say that Arkansas is pretty still in junior high world?
Yes.
I would say so,
and not the typical middle school. That's interesting. I think West Virginia became more of a middle school state back in the late 90s, went away from that junior high. So that's really interesting that you guys are still doing 7 through 9. And then that's really cool. And it's something you probably already all know because you've lived it and haven't changed it.
So the middle schools in our area, I think, tend to be that 5th, 6th grade school. Okay. And then the junior high is 7, 8. And there's a lot of schools that have gone to a 9th grade, we call it the freshman academy. So there are some bigger schools, especially they've pulled those 9th graders out and to try to really focus them towards graduation. So that kind of, I guess but we still call it junior high, and that's anybody 9 down, and then high school 10 and up in the band and orchestra world. And choir, I think, still calls it that too.
So that's really interesting that you don't have to pay a fee if you don't attend. So in West Virginia, if you don't go to concert band festival, you still have to pay the fee.
So you do have to pay the ASBOA fee to participate in solo and to participate in anything all year. You pay the ASBOA once a year fee. Okay. So yes, and then you have to pay on top of that your fee for actually participating in each individual event. So we have one fee that basically is, being a part of the state organization for your ensembles. And then the next one is to participate in that individual event. So you do, even our seventh graders participate still in ensemble. So we pay a fee for our beginner band at each of our junior highs.
Cool. So what does a calendar look like in the state of Arkansas? Like, you're obviously the beginning of the year's very marching band heavy, but like after that, and what's a typical calendar for a band director? What weekends can we not schedule events for our own family?
Every one of them.
When can we not go on a cruise or,
So Arkansas, most schools start about middle of August. There's a couple of us now that are starting early August, like my school and some others. But then end of September is when marching season starts, typically with Kara's contest. They're usually one of the earliest marching competitions in the state. And then basically marching season goes all the way till that first week of November, and that's our state marching competition. So we'll have a bunch of, invitationals, competitions for marching in there, but then we also have our region marching competition in October. Most states do it that second to third week of October, and that qualifies you to go for that state, which is in November. Right after that, most schools jump in, and I think most schools will do their jazz tryouts for all region around that time, right after that, before Thanksgiving break. And then in December, we at our region have our junior high all region tryouts before Christmas break to get that out of the way. And so that's how the first semester looks. The second semester, we finish up and do the high school tryouts. Every region probably puts on their all region clinics that first, second, third week of January. If there's no snow, we all try and get in there as quick as we can, because February, usually Valentine's Day weekend, is all state tryouts. So all state tryouts will happen super early for us in February. And then the week after that or 2 weeks after that is all state, depending on how snow works. Because in Arkansas, there's crazy snow in one part, no snow in the other part.
I'm sorry. You have all state auditions in February. 2 weeks later is all state band?
Yes.
That's not a big turnaround.
Yeah.
It is impressive how the office works and the directors work to try to get everything set up, and the board. They do absolutely amazing job of getting that turned around in a very close, and we've done it before that the snow kicked us out, and we actually tried out, I believe it was on a Tuesday, and then went to clinic on a Thursday, or maybe even Wednesday, because I think we were still doing the early jazz stuff.
We were doing early, yeah.
Yeah, maybe it was Monday. Maybe Monday was tryouts. I can't remember. It's been a while, but like we had to punt our host for tryouts, and ended up at a high school, and it was absolutely insane. And then last year was the first year that we actually had to cancel all state clinic, and we had to move it to after spring break.
So when you're talking all state clinic, what does that entail? I'm
basically it's going to be all state orchestra. We have an orchestra, and then all state 3 concert bands, and then all state jazz. We have 2 all state jazz bands.
So is the clinic the actual event?
That's the actual clinic and concerts. Like it's 3 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Oh, so it's rehearsals leading up to. Just the word clinic kind of threw me off there.
Sorry. Clinic and concerts, I guess, is how I say it.
That's okay. Yeah, just like, because ours is during our MEA conference. So we just, it becomes just all state to us.
We just call it the Arkansas Music Conference is what we call it.
We still have some conferences, like they'll put on some PD during that, and we'll have elementary come in too. So I think that conference ends up being not just us.
Is that your Arkansas? Is that Arkansas MEA? Is that where
that's a different. They will actually host their own thing at a different time. Kind of like ABA is for bands. They'll host their own too, and they do. Our MEA also does some band stuff and choir, and encompasses all of the music things. But yeah, they are separate.
That's a lot of events. Yeah, we've got one big event all year in our state, so I'm jealous of all these.
Yeah,
it is. There's a lot of.
Talk to me about your auditions. We just started all state band in middle school, and our auditions have always been virtual, which I think is kind of cool. They make a video and they send it in, but we do argue every year about the high school auditions and whether they should be virtual or in person or blind or
I think we've been through that.
Blah, 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 blah. And it's not arguments, it's discussions. But still, you get it. And what do you guys do?
It is in person. So each different branch. You got your concert junior high, concert high school, you got your jazz. We do have orchestra auditions. That actually happens in October. On top of all the marching band stuff, they're doing their auditions and clinics. So that orchestra happens in September, October, beginning of November. I think they're done by the end of October, but they are in person. We have done the online. We did it during COVID. I guess basically 2 years we did that.
Yeah.
Well, was it 2 total?
It was 2 years.
I should know that because I lived it very in depth during that time. And there was a lot of discussion actually after that. Do we want to keep doing this? And I think that everybody was just wanted the kids to walk into the room and have that moment. And we find that with our state, the equipment that students would have available to them was very different, or where they would go to record. Even for us, like at my high school, when we do our auditions for the next year, the students will go, if I record in this lobby, this is what I sound like. But if I record in this room with all the uniforms, I'm not going to sound like that. And so they figure that out. And so we were finding that, especially those 2 years, that there was definitely a discrepancy in what you were getting sound wise from each student. And so that live audition kind of leveled that playing field for them. That was that's the reason we never have gone back to the virtual, but we know we can do it now, at least. That's good if we ever have to. But all the students come in, the regions, the directors in the region are the judges. They are behind screens. So it is anonymous during that audition. Different regions do different things. We do have some regions that have explored the Google Forms for their auditions, and they type in some different things. Our region does Scantron still, and it has just been a fail-safe that it works really well, that we have very few, if any, issues with, people getting confused on who that ID number was or anything like that, because there's a lot of fail-safes in that process. So we use that also for All-State. And All-State is a whole different thing, obviously, than the whole state is put on panels. There's more judges. At regions, it's 2 or 3, depending. And then state, it's up to 5 can be.
2 or 3 judges for each instrument? Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So like clarinet, for instance, is actually split into 2 rooms. It'll have a prepared room and then a scales and sight reading room. And so there's 2 judges in each of those rooms. So, and then but like French horn, because there's less kids that are trying out on French horn, there'll be 3 judges in that room. And it's not split. They'll do prepared, scales, and sight reading all in the same room. And then our percussion rooms are actually, which that's all fixing to change. It's all crazy that our percussion auditions have changed completely for this next year. But that audition was in 3 rooms also. We had snare, timpani, and keyboard rooms, and there were 2 judges in each of those rooms. Sometimes we've had to combine our euphonium and tuba room because we didn't have enough. The flu took over and all the judges were going to be sick. And so we just had to make do, or somebody decided, that they couldn't be there because blah, blah, blah happened or whatever. So we do have to sometimes fix some things in the region level to make that happen. But state, it's always 5 per room.
And you pay every one of those judges?
No, that is just part of being an ASBOA. It is an expectation of our state. And kind of one of the reasons I think that our state is so close is that we all serve.
Got it. Yeah. Okay.
The organization itself, and it's sometimes a sticking point, but that is definitely it's just an expectation that we serve and help each other to make this accomplished for the students of the state. Yeah.
I love that. I think that's great, and if that's the expectation, then bravo. Just curious. These questions have really inspired my mind. Being in a mountain state where you've got to cross mountains and getting from one side of the state to the other takes 6.5 hours. What's the longest? I know you guys are a bigger state than us, I believe. What's the longest a school has to drive to an audition or to an event? And is there any ever contention about that?
Yes, I think
there's contention, but it's not as long as 6 hours.
So
I'd say the longest probably, yeah.
I'm thinking in that northeast corner, I think 4 is the longest. They try to divide it and get the central location for those auditions as best as anything we can do to make it easier and cheaper for those schools travel wise, because a lot of our schools are still paying for transportation out of their budgets. And so that being able to help those as much as possible. That was one of the reasons when we did redraw the lines that has to be a consideration. It can't just be population and the number for, there it goes again. There has to be a consideration for that because that driving is. Now, we don't have 6 hours, but I do think that that northwest, and I think in the northeast corner, or the southeast, not north, I don't even know what I'm saying. Southeast and southwest corners, those regions are very geographically large. And so they are having to drive multiple hours to get to their regions. I mean, Mr. Ashley comes across to Cabot several times, or to Searcy, and it's a 2-hour drive to get his kids here. And
that would be for an audition. Like they would never have to drive 4 hours in a day and then drive back 4 hours. It would be like an overnight trip if they had to.
Yeah, typically.
So I know a couple of the regions in the South actually divide their region marching contest into 2 panels so that they can split that geographically a little bit and make it easier for marching band specifically. But for region auditions, they would drive, I don't know that there's anybody that's 4 hours. It may be closer to 3.5. I'm trying to think like that El Dorado
to Pine Bluff. That would be the furthest in a region because El Dorado still goes to Whitehall for their tryouts. Yeah, and I think that's got to be 2.5 to 3 hours.
Yeah. So maybe
and then they
maybe
turn
not
around
4.
and drive back.
Yeah, they do have to drive back that day. So
where I am in the state, the high schools have to drive about 3 hours for their audition. And there's always a little bit of contention about that. And it's always the day of everyone's Christmas parade, but that's okay. That's a whole other story. So do you have to do like a level up thing to get to all state? Do they have to make all district or, your region before you go to all state, or can anyone audition for all state?
You have to make a certain number of chair in your region. So the top, I think 11 trumpets, 10 trumpets will get to try out for all state. So we have 9 regions. So that ends up making about 90 trumpets that get to try out for all state. So the top 10 or so from each region. And so depending on what instrument you play, your odds can be a little bit better because there's not going to be 4 bassoons in every region. So, your bassoon players are going to get a little bit of leeway on making that all state. But yes, you do have to make region to try out for all state.
Does every region have a district band?
Yes.
Every region has an all region band. Most of them have 2 junior high and 2 high school all region concert bands. And then there are a few that have gone to 1, and there is one region that has 3 junior highs, and they had 3 high school, but they're going to 2 this next year on the high school level. And then jazz band, it kind of depends. The all region jazz bands, there's usually 2, but sometimes there's 1, like ours, just as we've done a larger jazz band so that it's just a financial means to make sure that we are, meeting that financial goal. And then our orchestras, we have 2 regions for orchestra, north and a south, and they have 1 region orchestra per region of orchestra. And again, they take that top little bit, the top few chairs or however many per instrument, and they audition for state. Orchestra works a little differently,
and so their audition for state's a whole different requirement. So their district music is different than their state requirement.
No, it is all the same.
All the same. Okay.
Yeah. So it's 5 exercises. The percussion have changed, so theirs is a little different, but it's usually 5 exercises per instrument. I think some of them have gone to 3. Is
bass clarinet is 6, isn't
it? It just changed for this new set. I think that we got rid of one of them.
But so it's pretty obvious as you look at it, like this part's really hard. This is going to be an all state. You can look at it and kind of tell like, okay, this is going to be your region. This is your all state. And so we have a lot of music they have to learn. But when you start prioritizing it, it gets kind of easier for the kids to get a hold of.
Cool. So
band directors, students, and parents love the Better Sax classic alto and tenor saxophones because of their beautiful sound, excellent intonation, solid build quality, sturdy case, and the fantastic mouthpiece included. Right now, get $100 off the classic alto and $200 off the classic tenor at both Sweetwater and Amazon for their back-to-school promotion. Sweetwater is even offering 48 months, no interest financing. That works out to about $19 a month for the alto and $32 a month for the tenor, significantly less than the rental fees. And your student owns a well-built, brand new saxophone outright at the end. The Better Sax YouTube channel has helped hundreds of thousands of saxophonists improve their skills, and the company is recognized worldwide for its commitment to providing high-quality instruments at more accessible prices. Teachers, pros, and technicians are routinely surprised by how much their expectations are surpassed, both in terms of the instrument themselves and the prices. This offer is only available until September 30th and subject to availability. So don't wait. Visit the link in the description or head over to sweetwater.com.
So where would, to change gears a little bit from Allstate to, like, if you were to have a group that were to become an honor band, what does that look like in the state of Arkansas? And when do you perform? How many do they take? What are the requirements? Like, how do you get to be an honor band in Arkansas?
Well, I'm actually the chair for the Honor Ensemble Committee and have been for a while. I'm not sure if I'll ever be off of that one. I definitely will have to retire. So Honor Ensemble has developed in Arkansas into two separate things. So we started out that you would send in a recording. You had to make a first division at concert assessment to be the honor ensemble. And then you would send in your recordings. They were judged, adjudicated, and then those were selected. And we would have two high schools. Depending on the year, it was divided by classifications. So this year would be these, and this year would be those. And then we also had two junior high, and again, by classifications, 8 EE and 8-3 would be these years, and et cetera. So that was at first. And then we brought back our state concert contest, and that's been several years now that we've been doing it that way. And the high schools only do a state winner of that honor ensemble. And it is live judged at state concert contests. And again, now it's, if you make a first and second division, you can come to state, and then you get judged in that, and they have an awards ceremony just like we do for marching band, the all of the things. And we hope to encourage people to stay and watch those honor ensembles. They actually perform. If you were the honor ensemble the year before, you perform at the end of state. But junior high still does the recordings, because technically the way our state works with junior high competing statewide. So it has to be done a different way. And so it's honor ensembles, and they perform at the All State Music Conference. And so that one afternoon, the junior high groups come up, and that way a lot of band directors get to hear them. It's not as many as I would like. I still wish those were better attended, but it is really hard to get everybody there, because a lot of the junior high directors may be back at home working with those band kids that didn't make All State and that kind of thing. But it's still a big honor. It's a really neat event just to see groups. I've gotten to know so many band directors. So I really do love being on that committee, because I've gotten to know so many band directors from different areas of our state that I may not have gotten to know quite as well because of it. And I'm always in those concerts. Like, nobody can pull me away from those concerts because I have to be there. So it's really fun to watch those groups.
So how many groups would you say audition for an honor ensemble?
So at state, again, it's by classification. So if you go to state concert assessment or contest, that it depends on the classification. We actually hosted 2 days of that. It's 4 days worth of bands. So it is a lot. There's a lot of groups. And then we take one honor ensemble per classification. So it's really kind of hard to say. And then on top of that, you have, like, my band is what we consider a double D classification. So it's a second high school band. So that those groups can also compete for their own title of honor ensemble. So
so it's like having the top group and then like a second group. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about for junior high? Like, how many would you say send in a recording?
It varies year to year, honestly. Anywhere from, I'd say, 1 year I think there was 4, and that was it. And then because it's a lot of work.
It's a whole different ballgame in middle school.
Yeah, and it's a lot of work for those directors. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of cost to get them there, and they got to get out of school, and there's so many variables for those junior high kids that for us at high school, we're going to contest anyway. We're going to be there. So this, and it's still a big deal, but I do think that cuts down on the number of groups that feel like they should apply. I hope if they are watching this podcast, though, that they will consider doing it. It is so amazing to watch those kids and the looks on their faces when, all these band directors are cheering for and they're playing in that big, huge hall. And it is really a neat event. And so, but it could be 4 to 10, one year. And it also depends on what classification is that year too.
So different years pull from a different classification. Like if say you're like a really small or really big school, but you're not being, or you're a AAA or whatever, you can't apply that year.
Right.
Yeah. Interesting.
So
okay.
they're blocked.
The only rules we have with honor bands are you can't get it 2 years in a row.
We have that too. We have that. You cannot get it twice in your section. So that, and obviously until the next rotations come back around.
Okay. Wow, that's pretty cool. So, that would be so tough though. If you had like such a great band, but it wasn't your year, like that would be, I'd be so frustrated.
It is definitely one of those things that like, just, I don't know. But it also, it allows us to still keep it at all state. So more people from around the state can see it.
So we kind of jumped over the classifications. So just to go back, sorry about that. I didn't realize how important they were. Because we have 0 classifications in West Virginia. Like our schools are classified AA, AAA, single A, but they don't matter when it comes to competing for concert band. It only matters for marching band. So I don't know why, you would think, but anyway. And so how many do you guys have? You said double D. I see something about E.
Okay, so I don't know. Mr. Ashley May, I don't know if I can even, like, how many classifications do we have? So
there's a lot. There's even sub classifications because like I was one for consolidating a school or redistricting. So there's even like subs underneath that. But we go up for high school. Yeah, R, that's what I was for 2 years. But there are 7 high school classifications, 1 through 7A. And then if you're a second band, you could be a 1A double D or a 2A double D. So I guess it could go on forever. I guess there's a triple D. Do y'all have a triple D, Kara? Because I think y'all have 3 bands, don't y'all?
We have double and triple, yes.
Yeah.
So we have a 7 double D and a 7 triple D.
And then now for the E's, those are for the 5th grade through 9th grade. You can be a 9th grade single E, which means you're a small 9th grade school, or a double E, which means you're a little bigger. And I don't know what they go up to, maybe 4E, 5E.
I think it's 4. I think we're just up to 4. I think our group has been a 9-4E. So I think that's it. I think it goes up to 9-4E. So, I was trying to think that. I was going to look that up and I forgot.
It's based on how many kids are in that school building.
Now our high school classifications are not. They're AAA. We've gone back to being with to make it better for administrators to understand what our classifications are. Mm-hmm. We've tried to stay with our football.
Whatever the football is, that's what we are.
Do you guys see a benefit to the way that you do it? And is it equitable to have it this way? Does it make sense? Like you guys have grown up here and this is your world. If you could change anything, what would you change? Or, do you think it really benefits the students? And I totally get not wanting to ruffle feathers. So, but I think that, change is not necessarily a bad thing sometimes. And if we just do things because that's the way we've always done them, is that healthy? So.
Okay. So we did, it hasn't been that long that we've gone back to the football. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that change, I think for some schools, it's a great situation, or at least it didn't hurt or bother anything. But I do think,
I'm torn with it myself because sometimes it is like based on the school population, not the band population. And so, you could have gone through a really rough patch in your band program and it's going to hurt you for a couple of years down the road. And so now so also with our classification, it requires what you have to play at concert festival. So based on your size, you might have to play a more difficult piece. So I know not every state is like that. So if you're a 6A school, you're going to have to play some grade 4 music. So if you went through a rough patch and you don't have the greatest of kids and your organization's very unhealthy culture-wise, you still have to show up at contest and play a grade 4. And so that's
the one I was looking for, was that page that has that specific thing on it. That was what I was looking at.
And I know not every state is like that. Yeah.
Yeah, we have high schools that show up and play grade 2s. Like it's like every band is different and every situation is different. Like you could get a brand new director and the program could change so fast. Or you could have a killer school that has where half the school's in the band and it's small. And like,
Yes.
there's a lot of that in our state where, the culture of the band's huge, but the school is small. We have school districts where we have one school, one high school, middle school situation in an entire county, which is like an 2 hours drive from another high school almost, so that's really interesting that it's all based on population. And so the population of your school decides how hard the music is you have to play.
Yes.
So that classification determines everything for your concert assessment. I mean, obviously marching band doesn't, and I don't, at
it's
times
always been like that. It wouldn't be too bad. Like if that's what the kids knew, and that's what, I'm trying to like get it in my brain, like this is how it is. So if the kids know, hey, we got to be able to do this, then it's a little different.
I think that's where the other side of it that I'm for it in a way is that the standard is set. Like you have to be here, kids. This is regardless of what your situation is, the standard is here. Let's meet it. But then on the other hand, like I said before, you can have some rough years and you still have to meet that standard. But so I do see it both ways.
And I do think that we have, the stipulations on that have really been looked at a million times. And we've, even with like our sight reading this year, we're going back and looking again at, hey, are these actually coexisting with our concert assessment requirements of what they play on stage? Does our sight reading match? Or is it too much? Or is it too little? Like all of those things. So I do think that we do go back and look at it often. I think it is rehashed. Now, does it always change? No. And, and doesn't change often, but it definitely is looked at, and things like snow or, weird natural disasters that keep you from being at school. And our rules committee will say, no, you only have to do two pieces this year because you haven't been in school for 12 days. How many days did y'all miss, Mr. Ashley? Y'all missed a lot.
We missed 15 in a row for the snows. And then I'm sure we missed some others for flooding and whatever else.
I mean, that's interesting that they'll let you, like what happens with like when we go to a concert band festival, the person in charge will just be like, hey, we had a lot of snow days. and they're like, just judges, take that information and do with it what you will,
Oh, that would be, they definitely would not let us do that, I don't think here, but that is, but they do let us do that option of many years. I think in just about every year, there's been that option of,
nice. Okay.
You're going to play this grade level of what you have to play and then in March. Okay. And so you don't try to take some of that pressure off the students and directors when they've missed so much school.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
It sounds like you definitely keep the standards really high, and that's really impressive. And I'm very impressed with that. That keeps all the directors on their toes. No one can be slacking, and because there's definitely room for that. If you don't have those expectations at the state level, then how can you do your job well in your own school? So I think that's great. I love that. What about other types of ensembles? You mentioned jazz band, and I know, talking with Mr. Ashley, I know that it's a rich state with jazz. You guys got a really wonderful tradition of that. What about other groups? Do you have a mariachi program? Any sort of rock bands that are in like?
Oh no! Now I'm worried somebody is going to watch this. We're going to end up with rock band or mariachi. I don't know, which would be great. Let's do it.
I do want to do the modern band before I retire. I do want to push that through, but I've got whiles to go. I think that's a really cool thing, but
I'll be long gone.
We're not ready for it yet.
Yeah, I don't think we have like honor ensembles that are rock bands that'll show up, in like a, you perform in the exhibit hall. You don't necessarily perform on stage, or, we have also a lot of steel drum bands in our state. Do you guys have
cool.
steel drums?
No,
we don't.
Really? Okay.
I think that may be why our jazz is so successful, is that is literally the avenue that you have outside of orchestra and band, normal band elements of marching and concert. But I mean, our solo and ensemble, I would say, is also really healthy. The small ensembles, brass choirs and brass quintets and woodwind ensembles and things. That is something that has grown a lot, I think, in the state.
So talk to me about your repertoire state lists. Do you have lists for all of the things? Concert band, jazz band, marching band? I mean, Solo and
Not for
ensemble. Is there a
jazz.
list for all that music?
But we do for concert and solo and ensemble. We have a list. But then we can also, by our rules, can borrow from UIL. So from Texas, we can we can use their list if we want to.
Can you submit new pieces?
Okay.
Yes.
You can submit concert and you can submit solo and ensemble music.
And just curious, have you ever like looked at other states and gone, wow, this is a grade 2 in this state, but we're classifying it as a grade 3 here. You know, like, do you ever feel like the pieces you have are, you know, because we'll say, oh, that's a Texas 2, but it's a West Virginia 3, you know. we'll
it's
say
funny
things
because
like that
one of the
sometimes.
pieces we looked at for ours, I think we had to play a 4 and a 3, and one of them we were like, okay, we got it, and we looked at the list. Well, we have to go by Arkansas's list if they're on both, and it was not going to meet our requirements. We're like, dang it, okay, we got to redo it. We got to rethink what we were doing. So we do have a couple pieces that are different than Texas. Probably ours is more on the easier side. I think that one was a 2, but a Texas 3. I can't remember exactly.
Right. Yeah,
So
I feel like, we had the piece recently that I know is a 2 in West Virginia, and I found out in Virginia it was a 3, and I was like, wow, okay, interesting. Like, normally we're harder. We'll pick the harder version than another state. So,
and we can resubmit that if we need to. You can ask to resubmit it and say, hey, I think this one's in the wrong category. So it would just be like resubmitting a piece. So that can be discussed.
Very cool. And obviously you have committees or like a chairperson for the list, you know, that takes care of the list. It's online and things like that.
So our music materials committee, there is a committee that actually can select that. There's also a solo and ensemble material committee. So they have 2 separate groups that can look at that music. And then it is all hosted on ASBOA's website so that we can see our material list.
You had all talked about earlier about volunteering, and I love that you all kind of serve each other. So are there any positions in the state that are paid?
So our board members... Okay, so the board members that are the executive board, so our board member-elect, president, that group, when they get to be president, they get a $500 honorarium.
Is this the bandmasters?
No, this is the ASBOA board. So our ASBOA executive secretary, that is a paid position. And then there is an administrative assistant that is also in that office. And then they actually added another assistant onto that. So there's 3 people in our ASBOA office. And then they're hosted at Arkansas Tech University. And so they have some college kids that come in and do some different tasks for them during the year, and those are all paid positions. And then, but other than that, when you're on the board, you go all the way through the board as a service to the state. And then when you are president, when you finish being president, they give you a $500 honorarium for all the years of service. And I think it's right around 7 years. It really depends. Like sometimes we'll have a turnaround in there because somebody retires or somebody leaves the profession or, there's different things that happen on that. And then even after you've been president, you're past president for a year, and then you go on to what we call executive advisory for 5 years. So you serve for a really long time.
It's a 12-year sentence.
So, and so depending on if somebody retires or jumps, decides to go to a different profession. But,
also, another question I had. Do you feel like the retention of directors in Arkansas is high? Do people come and stay? Are you homegrown, a lot of people? Like, do they go to school in Arkansas and then decide, I'm going to keep teaching, I'm going to become, director here and spend my career here? What's it like to just be a band director there for your career?
I feel like it's very homegrown. There's a lot of directors who are products of Arkansas bands. There are very few that are outside. But the ones who do come in, I feel like stick around for quite a while. I can't think of many directors. I mean, there's a few schools on the outside of Arkansas who might jump ship and go back and forth between 2 states. But like, I'm thinking at my school, like one of my teachers I teach with is from Tennessee. She's came over and she's now on like year 25 in Arkansas. Like she loves it. She's going to stick around,
I would agree that it is a lot of, homegrown. But I think we've gotten a lot more eclectic in the last few years. I feel like we have brought in some different people from around different states. And usually when they leave, it's because they're going closer to home. Like, I find that is probably the biggest statement, the truth of it. But Yeah, I think retention wise, I worry about that. I don't know if I'm sure that's that way all
Everywhere.
across the nation for teachers. I worry about that retention. If I always use this as an example, I love my job and I would not give anything for the time I've had with all these students throughout the years. And I'm in year 26 and there's no way I'm jumping ship now. But if I had to go back and look at the time frame and the different things, would I have done it differently? And I would like to say no, definitely not. But when you look at some of the things that our directors are facing across the state and, the hours they put in and the sacrifices they make, this band director family does some amazing things, like serving on these different committees and judging on weekends that we'd already given up, 5 weekends for marching band. And now we're giving up 4 more weekends for these different auditions and clinics and things. And so I worry about our younger band directors. And I think that's where the mentoring comes in and being available for them to talk through what they're feeling and doing. And that camaraderie, we have to do that. And I think that places like Midwest always rejuvenate me because I see people that are doing exactly like I'm doing. And I hope like this podcast is that way for me. Like I'm excited to see other states and that they're a lot like us. They may do things differently, but they're just like us. Yeah. And so I hope that'll encourage some of our younger directors to stay with it, because I have seen some amazing band directors decide to go into administration, which we need them. Mm-hmm. We need them in those spots, or even going into elementary music or leaving and, going into the real world, as I guess I could call it.
Yeah. So what does it look like to, retire Arkansas? I've learned recently that I have a friend in Missouri, my friend Mr. White, and all of his reps the reps that come to the schools from the music stores, I'm learning they're all former band directors, and they come and they work with their bands, and I think that is so neat.
That is a true statement.
Is that something that happens also, since you guys are so close? I was assuming it might be similar there.
Yes. So he worked with Miss Williams for forever, and she actually does a lot of travel and things. And then actually I have a side gig with TMF that may be my retirement gig. And one of the reasons that it's appealing is that he will allow me to go into the schools and hopefully get to work with kids still and hang out with these band directors and see what they're doing and be in the classroom still, but in a different way. So I do see that. My dad is a retired band director, and he does a lot of, for AMRO out of Memphis, he does a lot of, what are they called? Rental meetings. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Rental meetings for different schools, and he loves it. It's a lot of work, and he is definitely tired after that few weeks of doing those, but he loves it because he gets into those smaller schools a lot of times too, and some of the bigger schools, and gets to see the directors and the families and the students and kind of, remember, what it's like.
That is such a neat part of, because that definitely does not happen where we are. It is not a Eastern thing. That sounds like a very Midwestern way of doing it.
I can think of about 20 to 30 band directors right now who are all retired in Arkansas that would go into your room with just one phone call.
Yes.
Who are just jumping to come and help you because it's such a healthy culture.
Are they getting paid through are they working through a store, or it's just they're just showing up?
They'll just show up.
And
like Joe, Kara had Joe Trusty, who had taught at Cabot for decades. And I could probably call him and he'd come and work my band if I asked him. There's just so many people like that.
For a lunch dinner, he'd probably come for sure.
Yeah.
feed him one of them good restaurants over there, and he'll be there.
Because that is a huge reason so many directors don't retire, because they don't have something else to do. You have to have something else to do, and you either set that up or you die.
Well, I think a lot of our retired directors still are adjudicators for us. They come in and judge for solo and ensemble.
Nice.
They the only thing they don't judge probably as a retired Arkansas band director is they will not judge at state in either of our state events. Those are all outside entities, but they're going to be directors from everywhere else. But they do, I was thinking Karen Dismuke and there just is a lot of those guys that'll just walk right into your room and, hey, I take them to coffee right after and they're good to go, And that's a really special thing to have. That I love where I live, especially. There are so many retired band directors or musicians that are right here, that local, and they teach. Some of them teach lessons for us. Bill and Krista Spainhour are right down the street, and they're in our band rooms on occasion and teach lessons on occasion and sectionals. So it's pretty. That is a really cool part of Arkansas. That's awesome. They're just a phone call away, and we all have their phone numbers because they're in the directory. So
that sounds like a great reason to come and teach in Arkansas.
Yeah.
So, well, we've had a great time today, and I'll let Mr. Ashley wrap it up for us. But thank you guys for teaching me all about Arkansas. This is wonderful.
Yeah,
it's a great place.
So that's the end of this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you learned something about Arkansas, something you may not have known, or you are interested now in coming to teach in Arkansas. We would love to have you. I know me and Kara would love to. So thank you again, and we'll see you next time.